I'm Amanda.
Standing in the grand downtown Chicago courthouse, the sunlight filtering through the glass facade casts a surreal glow over the marble floors. My heart pounds with a strange mix of anticipation and relief as I clutch my laptop bag, the weight of evidence within a tangible reminder of the journey that led me here. Just moments ago, I stepped into the 42nd floor conference room to find my father, Henry, flanked by his high-powered lawyer, Mr.
Black.
Henry's face was a mask of barely controlled fury as he tried to convince Mr. Black to invalidate the contract that would soon strip him of the power he'd always wielded over me. "How do you think you can win this, Amanda?" Henry sneered, his voice dripping with venom. "You've always been a disappointment, a failure who couldn't even hold a real family together." I took a deep breath, the familiar sting of his words, but this time, they couldn't break me. "Let's talk about real failures, Henry," I said, my voice steady. "Like the fact that for 10 years, I've been the one paying for your lavish lifestyle, your debts, and your home, all while you've berated me and treated me like a burden." As I spoke, I opened my laptop and began to project the financial records onto the wall. There were the bank statements showing the monthly mortgage payments that had been going directly into my company, CNA Finance. There were also the emails from my mother, Grace, and brother, Lucas, filled with demands for money and insults about my career. It all started 10 years ago. I was fresh out of business school, full of dreams and ambition. My family, on the other hand, was in financial turmoil. Henry had made a series of bad investments, and they were on the verge of losing their home. Without hesitation, I used my knowledge and skills to create CNA Finance and secretly bought their mortgage. I worked long hours, sacrificing my own social life and personal happiness to ensure that their payments were made on time. But instead of gratitude, I received only criticism. Henry, a former corporate executive with an inflated ego, constantly belittled my efforts, saying that I was wasting my time with numbers and that I'd never amount to anything. Grace, a passive woman who always followed Henry's lead, offered only weak protests in my defense. And Lucas, the golden child of the family, took advantage of my generosity, using my money to fuel his failed business ventures and extravagant lifestyle. There were times when I almost gave up. I would sit alone in my 32nd floor apartment, surrounded by cold coffee and spreadsheets, questioning why I was doing all this for a family that didn't appreciate me. But I held on, driven by a sense of duty and a hope that one day they would see my worth. Then, a few weeks ago, I received a text from my Uncle Tom. "They're planning something, Amanda. Henry called a family meeting without you. They're trying to squeeze more money out of you," it read. That was the moment when the scales fell from my eyes. I realized that I had been a fool, a pawn in their game. I started to prepare. I gathered all the evidence, every document, every email, and every transaction that proved my years of sacrifice. I also reached out to my financial advisor, Jake, who helped me understand the legal implications of the purchase option clause in the mortgage contract. As the payment deadline approached, Henry's text came in, feigning concern about a payment issue. I ignored it. When the clock struck midnight, I clicked the execute button on the contract, activating the transfer of ownership. The aftermath was chaotic. Henry and the rest of the family were in a panic. Lucas called me, his voice cracking with fear. "What are you doing, Amanda? This is our family home," he shouted. I replied calmly, "Check your email, Lucas. It shows exactly what family has cost me. And by the way, you have 48 hours to vacate the property." But they weren't going down without a fight. Henry hired Mr. Black and launched a smear campaign against me on social media. Lucas claimed that I had embezzled company funds, and Grace called all our relatives with sob stories. However, I was ready. In the courtroom, as I presented my evidence, the judge listened intently. "These records are quite comprehensive, Miss Amanda," the judge said, looking over the documents. Henry lunged to his feet, his face red with anger, but Mr. Black held him back. It was too late. The media cameras were already rolling, capturing the moment when their carefully constructed facade of a perfect family crumbled. By order of this court, the judge declared, All claims against CNA Finance are dismissed. The property transfer shall proceed as contractually specified. The gavel fell, and a wave of relief washed over me. As Henry, Grace, and Lucas stormed out of the courtroom, I looked out at the Chicago skyline through the window. The city lights twinkled like a constellation of hope, a promise of a new beginning. Now, in my new downtown office, I look at the stack of mortgage documents on my desk. These are not for my family anymore, but for women who, like me, have been trapped in abusive family dynamics. I'm starting a mentoring program and a women's financial empowerment workshop, using my experience to help others break free. As I look out at the city waking up below, I think about how far I've come. From a victim of family abuse to a victorious advocate for others, I've finally found my freedom. And I know that there are more battles to be fought, more stories of liberation to be written. But for now, I'm content, ready to embrace the new possibilities that lie ahead.